Hey, welcome back to Spirit Music Meetups. Mike Burris here, and we are looking at some files that I found on my phone. You know, God gives me these revelations and visions and stuff. Sometimes I forget where I put them. I found them, so I'm putting them up on the God Messages page, so you can benefit from them as well, so they can be encouraging to you. So this happened on October 11th, 2022. And this was really quite a turning point for me. So it's very important that that you get close to God, because if you draw near to God, He draws near to you. That's what it says in Hebrews, and it really is true. Oh, that was spontaneous, man. That's the spontaneity of the Lord, the new song. Well, check this out. This will blow you away. So I had this miraculous object lesson given to me just now. So I wrote it down. It was just, boy, it blew me away. I went out for a long bike ride in the late afternoon, only because it looked like it was getting cloudy. The clouds burned off, though, later on. I went to my normal spot right behind Lowe's along the Pantano Wash. I think they call it the Pantano Wash Park. It was still flowing a little bit from yesterday's rains, but not much. I remember yesterday I saw a guy actually trying to paddle some kind of makeshift raft, and I thought, this was yesterday, had a little bit more water. I said, boy, that's going to be difficult, because there wasn't much flow. It was quite sunny. I was like, wow, crazy, man. So I went on this ride today because I've been very discouraged that I was called in for an interview at 8 a.m. on Monday. And I don't know when today, the 11th, was. I was called in at 8 a.m., so maybe a few days earlier, at Lowe's by the general manager, who didn't even show up for the interview. That's the first time ever in my life. I work for a lot of corporations. And I sat there for 45 minutes, dressed up, ready to go, until the same guy, his name was Andrew, who interviewed me 2 months earlier, reluctantly interviewed me again. I could tell he was not happy. And I'm like, wow, he's so smiley the first time, and now it looks like he was eating prunes. I'm like, oh man, I pissed him off. He was reluctantly interviewing me again and said, again, there's no job positions. I don't know what John is talking to you about, because he said, when I talked to him on, it was like Saturday, it was on Saturday. He said, hey man, it's good. I'm glad to run into you. I got 3 positions I want to talk to you about. See you on Monday at 8 a.m. So I'm going, that's great. Thank you so much. I'll see you there. Right? So now the assistant manager, Andrew, doesn't even know what's going on. And so he's like, what am I talking to you about? I can tell. So he asks me all these questions, jumps through the hoops. I thought I did really well. Again. And Andrew didn't look very happy, but he said he would have John call me. Well, Monday went by. So this happened Monday morning, 8 o'clock, first thing in the morning. I sat there for 45 minutes, finally interviews me, and then he says, well, I'll have him call you. Well, Monday went by, no call. Tuesday went by, no call. Wednesday went by, no call. And I even emailed John, the manager, the general manager, on Wednesday. And a store clerk that I knew handed John my card on Wednesday, so he knows I was expecting a call. And here it is, Thursday afternoon, and still no call. Man, oh man, I've worked really high up in a lot of companies, and I'm just like perplexed. I have a lot of customer service, a lot of natural talents in nursery. Got a walk through garden like Better Homes and Garden, Tucson Garden. I know all the gardeners. I'm just perplexed. So I felt really let down. First time in my life. I'm thinking, what kind of company does this? So I went on this ride. I mean, the manager asks me to come in. I got 3 positions for you. Let's talk about them. Let's see which one you want, right? So nothing for 4 days. This day, this is way back there, August 11th. What's the day? We're almost into the new year. Never got a call. Well, I did get a call, like from somebody I didn't even know. Somebody is just pushing buttons. Well, and he's just saying, oh, the position you applied for. Well, they told me just originally, one of the managers said, hey, just apply for anything in there, just, driver or whatever. So I did. He says, and then we'll get you in and we'll talk about what you want to do. So I did what they told me to do. I mean, I knew a lot of people there, so I'm perplexed. So I went on this ride because during yesterday's ride, that should have been Wednesday, the Lord kept saying, go with the flow and let go and let God. So I have a surrender page about this. But this is what he kept telling me. But now there wasn't very much flow going on. So he kept telling me this about my job hunting. And I really wanted to work for Lowe's because I knew everybody there and I knew the garden department and I bought a lot of stuff there and I'm really into gardening. And I said, hey, this would be great. And they're all rooting for me. And now I'm going on this as God's saying, go with the flow and let God and let go. Right? Let go and let God. He's telling me this. And I'm like, I am. And I'm going on this ride. But there's not very much flow going on in the Pantano Watch, which is right behind Lowe's, at all. Nothing like there was last week. So today, before I got to Craycroft, that's right, it looked like there was no water flowing at all. So that's about a mile down the stream, mile down the wash, riding my bike. I get to this street called Craycroft, and I noticed there was like no water flowing at all. And then as soon as I crossed Craycroft, I noticed the wash was full of water, like really full, and it was really flowing. And I wondered, where did all this water come from? Well, I looked over across the wash, and it looked like it was coming in from another direction. I don't remember, I thought it was just one big wash. Well, I rode along this for a while, and I was overwhelmed by a clear message from the Lord, flooding my mind that I was to go with the flow, not go with the trickle. He was like, I told you to go with the flow. I didn't say go with the trickle. But I had been pursuing Lowe's, and on the side pursuing Home Depot and Mesquite Valley Growers, and Ace Hardware, which I thought for sure I was going to get a shoe in because I worked for Ace Hardware before. And they kept leading me on. It's like, oh, I got close, and then something came up, and this went on for 1.5 months without any results. And I'm thinking, I've never had this hard of a time getting a job. I mean, I'm not needing a job. I just wanted to break up the day, do something interesting, be with people. I felt like God was telling me to be with more people. So I was just going with what I thought it was going with the flow. I had followed it up very well with every one of them, and still nothing. I mean, I was spending all my time, it seems like, going around between these 4 places, setting up opportunities, passing on my resume stuff, passing on thank you notes, and etc. All my normal follow-up stuff. But God was saying that I was to go with the flow, which is abundance. And when I hit that water, he was saying, this is what I mean. I was actually seeing and feeling abundance. And then I remember John 10:10. So when I hit that water, I felt this joy. And he was saying, this is what I meant. This is what I meant by going with abundance. Going with the flow is going with abundance, not trickle. That's not abundance. And then I remembered John 10:10 about Jesus coming to bring abundant life. And then what does he say? I come to bring a genuine life and super abounding, abundant beyond what you can possibly imagine. And he says that's why I came. He wasn't asking me to paddle in the mud like the guy was yesterday. He was paddling in the mud. It was horrible. And it was hot. He had his shirt off, and I'm like, how's he going to get out? He's going to be up to his neck in mud just getting out of his raft. But I felt like I was paddling in the mud for 1.5 months now. Very down in the mud dumps. Very down in the mud dumps. So, and I guess this is the first time I ever talked about this. So I was looking down the page. So I was seeing all this abundant water flowing by me. And the more I did this, I got more joy and realized I had been making it very difficult on myself because I was barking up the wrong tree and 4 wrong trees. I was paddling along the wrong wash. And really, after I gave up kind of on Ace Hardware, I was very disappointed. I was like, I knew that was a shoe in the door. And I was like, wow, this makes no sense. I even know the hiring manager, and he goes, there's nothing I can do. We thought this guy was going to quit, and then he didn't quit, so I can't fire him, and like goes around in circle. So now I was really pursuing Lowe's. I put all my eggs in that basket. I said, this is where I really want to work. And here, just a little further down the road, just about a mile, not down the stream, which means you would have to get out of the stream and go down the road. So I was on the road. There was real flow going on down there. There was real flow. When I came back towards Lowe's on my bicycle, I crossed over to the other side of the wash, further down, on a place called Dodge, and sure enough, there was a whole other watershed called the Reed River at Craycroft that was coming from Mount Lemmon area. So it's like a whole different watershed that got a lot of rain yesterday, and it was really, really flowing, and it was dark. It was still dark over there, but I remember it was like black the day before. And then it really hit me that I had been really paddling up the wrong stream for 1.5 months, insisting on my way and my ideas. I never got a revelation. I just saw things lining up, and I said, oh, it looks like it's happening, you know. I was like being deceived. I was like, oh, I think it's happening. I think it's going to really happen. And I got my hopes up, and then it would delay, and then I would get my hopes up, and then it would delay, and then, you know, I was really being led on. You know, I was like, wow. And I thought some of this was God, but I never really got clear vision or dreams or anything about this. So then I started asking, well, where is the flow that I can jump in that stream and be carried away by its abundant current? Because he was talking about the Holy Spirit, right? And so I was like, where can I? And as I rode my bicycle back to Lowe's, I came to the dry stream on the other side of Craycroft. You know, what a stark difference. Remember, it was dry on the other side. So as soon as I hit that, it was like, oh, my emotions just dropped. You could really feel it. Felt like I was back in the desert. And as I rode the road for a while, and I saw a guy. This is just otherworldly. This never has happened in my life. I saw a guy actually standing out near the bike path, playing his saxophone. Is that surreal? I mean, that's like watching a holy mackerel fly in the sky. And it was beautiful music. So I stopped and I talked with him for quite a while. And he had this real mission, real passion to bring peace through music in parks and other community settings. And he feels this urgency, right, from the rising crime rates. Oh my gosh, Tucson has just gone completely to hell in a handbasket. Ever since we got Regina Romero, our Tucson mayor, unbelievable. And she's a Biden pick. I'm sorry, I don't know where these guys get their playbook, but it's a terrible playbook. It's called crime, unbelievable crime bosses or something. So feel the urgency of rising crime rates from open borders and poverty, the despair of poverty. Though he's coming from a kind of an African, he's a black guy, and I saw this tribal and New Age stuff on him, and he was kind of speaking in those terms. And he was talking to me all about this. And I could hear God inside me reminding me the original intent of Spirit Music Meetups that he showed me in October 2020. But I had not actually got that far. I haven't got as far as what he was showing me. I got bogged down in website development, my drumming, house and yard projects, and then job hunting for my wife, and then my own. So I really got sidetracked. So he just says, time to get back on track. Time to get back on the road. So I show you the road. I showed you what the abundance is. For you, the abundance, right, is this music. I even stopped doing my own ministry in the parks. And I need to go back, and I just started again. So this has made me really re-examine the original purpose was to play in the spirit with other musicians in the parks and to reach out to the churches through mail and in person to get this doing. Well, I did that. It really motivated me. So I did that. Nothing has happened. I reached out to all the churches around my area, and not one person's called. I was going to do workshops with them by donations for time and materials. Nobody ever called. So I'm really now like, well, Lord, I know he's telling me to go back in the parks. So I started going back in the parks and just being there with him in the music. So I've done some videos about that. Very similar things this guy was talking about, but he's coming from a non-Christian viewpoint. It's almost like there is a perceived need, and the world's counterfeits are going to try to do something about this. But then all the while I'm listening to this, I'm hearing God say, remember I showed you how much better my plans are to save America, and how my presence comes in anointed, prophetic, spontaneous worship music. And he showed me amazing things. So you go look at those pages. So it was so clear that God is trying to get me back into the flow, into the current, into what I'm supposed to be doing. And that's why nothing is happening on this side channel. See, I was on the road outside the channel, and it was this dry channel to boot, right? And so I literally have to get out of this dry side channel. It's called the Pantano Wash, right? I need to get in the Rito Wash and get on down the road. He kept saying, go down the road. As soon as I did, woof, abundance. Then on the way back, he says, go down the road. I felt this dryness. Remember when I hit the Pantano Wash, and I go down the road for a bit of, and there's a guy playing saxophone, and now I'm all enlivened again. So it was a real object lesson about what is down the road. In this case, back in the direction I originally came from when I started Spirit Music Meetups. Ironically, by the time I got back to Lowe's, the water had actually completely stopped in this wash, which was telling me that Lowe's is all dried up. This was really an object lesson. So I was able to really let go of this 1.5 months of trickle. God gave me the faith with this experience. No kidding. I had such clarity that I stopped right then. Never pursued it again. And like weeks later, they finally call me and say, oh, that driver position? Well, we filled it. We could see that you weren't really qualified. I was like, I told them right from the beginning. They told me to fill it out. I'm not qualified. That I was going to be called into the office and they would set me up in a qualified position. And so it's like the left hand did not know what the right hand was doing. So I got back on the road, back to the original 2020 vision and the mission statement. So praise the Lord. I feel more joy and flow already. I remember this. I look forward to seeing a current increase into abundance. I have an expectation of faith, and that is the definition of elpis. Elpis means hope, expectation of faith. And so far, so good. So I have to say, since then, I've taken some other side tours. So I'm trying to balance. The Lord has told me about balancing. So I'm kind of out of balance right now. I was doing a lot of videos. And so I'm going to take a break. But I appreciate you hanging in there with this and seeing the journey that I'm on. Maybe this sparks something in you. You can describe your journey on the comments section. We can really learn from your journey. Maybe that'll help others, right? Encourage them. 1 Corinthians 14, 29 through 31 talks about batting this back and forth, weighing in together. Diakrino means back and forth. We learn by batting this back and forth, diameter, D-I-A. And so we're back and forth, critiquing it, crino, critiquing it, constructive criticism, weighing it back and forth, so that we can all learn and be encouraged together. That's what it says. So let's do that. Let's be encouraged together by the comment section, right? I'm sharing, and now you can share, so we can all learn and be encouraged together. So, belated point there. All right, God bless you. Bye-bye.